Lying in the western frontier region of India, the state of Rajasthan, on one side is extended up to India's borderline with its neighboring country, Pakistan, while on the other, north to southward, it shares its geographical boundaries with as many as 5 other states. Every inch of this colorful state, rich in art and culture, brings to life its glorious history. Numerous historical forts, wherein lie treasured many episodes of irrepressible valor. These stately homes that witness the unparalleled sacrifices of heroic women. The customs and traditions befitting and enlivening various occasions that prevail in the state represent a unique picture of its shared legacy of diverse and colorful culture. A precious chapter of this legacy is the THEVA art of jewelry making, a unique combination of an exquisite craftsmanship worked on a thin layer of gold fused with red, green or blue glass. The place of birth of THEVA art is Pratap Garh, situated at the extreme southern end of the state. Pratap Garh attained the status of a district just a few years ago, on the 25th of January 2008. Until then, its land area was jointly shared by Udaipur, Banswara and Chittor. Contiguous to Gujarat in the west and Madhya Pradesh in the southeast, Pratap Garh is also famous by the name of Kanthal. This predominantly tribal region, exuberant in natural beauty, represents a happy mixture of the composite cultures of Wagad, Mewar and Malwa lifestyles and present-day modern standards. About 400 years ago, the younger brother of the then ruler of Chittor, Rana Kumbha, named Khemkaran, was unhappy with the share of inherited estate handed out to him. As a measure of protest, he founded his own separate kingdom towards the south of the one belonging to his elder brother. That came to be known by the name Kanthal, which later became famous by the name Devaliya. One of his descendants, Maharavat Samant Singh, who was enthroned the kingdom of Devaliya at the young age of 7, ruled the state from October 1774 till January 1844, turned out to be an avid lover of art, and got a palace built in Devaliya where a section of the fort walls were inlaid with pieces of glass. This part of the palace was called Sheesh Mahal. It is believed that around the same period, Maharavat Samant Singh prodded his state goldsmiths to create such an artwork that would be both remarkable as well as unique, promising them a reward of a tax-free estate subject to that art piece winning the royal appreciation. And the result was the emergence of THEVA craft. As for the origin of the term THEVA and the meaning thereof, there is no authentic source available for reference in this regard. The history of this art is as much thrilling as rare this art is. Presently, about 12 to 15 Raj Soni families are associated with this craft at this place. For the last 400 years or so, the Raj Soni family of Pratap Garh has kept the technique relating to this craft secret. Till the recent past, even the daughters in Raj Soni families were denied initiation to this technique, generation after generation. None of these craftsmen were willing to disclose even to their sons-in-law, who traditionally enjoy a privileged status in Indian society, the process of fusion of excellent craftsmanship executed on a thin layer of gold and glass.
पहले के ज़माने में लड़कियों को माँ बाप बाहर से दुकान में बिठाना पसंद नहीं करते थे। अदब, महिलाएं घूंघट सिस्टम, कोई महिला उस जमाने खुले से नजर नहीं आएगी, आपने उस जमाने देखा हो। और हम तो बहुत पीछे, यहाँ तो हर महिला है, और कोई परिवार का या कोई किसी को मिल गया रास्ते में तो महिला साइड में खड़ी हो जाती। तो वैसी स्थिति में लड़की भी, शिक्षा भी नहीं थी ज़्यादा, और शिक्षित भी तो होना चाहिए। तो वो माँ बाप उसको पढ़ाकर थोड़ा सा जा फिर अंदर जा, तो वो लड़की, अच्छा लड़की सीख भी जाए आज, तो वो शादी करके जाएगी, उसके तो सर्विस क्लास मिलेगा, या उसके ससुराल में चांदी की ज्वेलरी होगी, या नौकरी पेशे वाले के ससुराल जाएगी, तो वो काम करेगी, वहाँ वो लेने कौन जाएगा? और वो अकेले औरत घर में काम करेगी कि या वो टप करेगी?
With changing times, this jealously guarded secret that was confined to a single family for about the last 200 years has at last been surreptitiously smuggled out of its confinements. But still, barring a few exceptions, this craft industry is mostly confined to within the limits of Pratap Garh. And this itself is a record of sorts, that since 1966 till date, as many as 8 times, one or the other member of this family has received the National Award for THEVA craft. The main stages that a THEVA art piece has to go through to reach its final form are preparation of as thin or as fine a layer of gold as desired. The gold layer prepared as per the desired specifications in regard to its thinness is then cut to the required shape that has to be given to the art piece. This is done by using a template of that design made of silver wire, which in the local language is called vada. The thin layer of gold is called vadara hua sona, that loosely translated means gold beaten into a thin layer. In order to fasten the grip of the silver template over the gold layer, a small hammer-like piece of teak wood is used. About 4 inches long and 2 inches in circumference, this tool that weighs around 50 grams is called mutta. This gold layer, cut into the desired design, is on one side rested on a mica base, while on the other the silver template or vada, already prepared congruent to the design of the piece, is placed and then fastened to the mica based gold layer by means of small iron clips. In local language, these clips are called chutas. The next stage involves cutting of very thin foil silver into fine, almost powder-like pieces that are used for soldering. These fine cuttings are then added to a solution of water and borax in a small mortar of marble, and the paste so prepared is applied around the vada fastened to the mica base by means of chutas. The gold layer thus fastened on the mica base with the clips is then placed on a small heated piece of iron mesh and exposed to the mild heat of flames from small burners. The fine silver cuttings melt and weld the gold layer to the silver template. The gold layer, thus welded to the silver after being cooled down, is dipped in hydrochloric acid and then washed with cold water in order to remove any stains left on its surface due to heating or otherwise. After smoothening and refining its shape, it is embedded in a sealing wax-like material called ra, which is prepared by mixing lamp black, fine dust and peanut oil with a natural fluid produced by a certain species of tree. The THEVA craftsmen etch out different designs on this fine layer of beaten gold embedded on the surface of the ral, which is firmly welded and limited to the peripheries of the vada. In the times of kings and princes, depiction of the hunt, the royal glory and grandeur, or the court of the ruler was predominant, and comparatively, the size of the work of art also used to be slightly larger.
सबसे ज़्यादा हंटिंग सीन मिलेंगे आपको, जिसमें मतलब शिकार करते हुए का सीन और जंगल के सीन और ये सबसे ज़्यादा सीन मिलेंगे। अच्छा, मुग़ल का जो है इम्पैक्ट, वो मुग़ल का इम्पैक्ट ये है कि जो बारीक काम होता है वो मुग़ल का इम्पैक्ट है थोड़ा। जैसे बहुत बारीक काम करते थे हम, जैसे फाइन वर्क कह सकते हैं, हालांकि इसको फाइन आर्ट के अंदर नहीं लिया गया है, लेकिन जो बहुत फाइन वर्क है, बहुत बारीक काम, वो मुग़ल आर्ट के हिसाब से चलता है। और हमारे इसके अंदर जो बाउंड्री बनती है, थेवे की बाउंड्री, उसको हम आज भी मुगली बाउंड्री बोलते हैं।
For the craftsmen associated with this craft, while bringing out fine details of Theva art on a base that could be rectangular, square or diamond shaped, circular, or the representation of other attractive images. The mythological scriptures like the Ramayana, Mahabharata, Gita, and the gods and goddesses representing various local faiths have also served as the source of inspiration. The fine and detailed but equally attractive depiction of dancing peacocks in the jungle, frenzied elephant, fighting soldiers, the newly wed bride coyly sitting inside the bridal palanquin, moving along with the convoy of the members of a marriage party, is an integral part of Theva art. About 150 years old, this sketch of an elephant was made by Ram Lalji, one of the forefathers of the Rajasthani family, who was the brother of yet another great Theva craftsman, Muthra Lal. In the same tradition are the rare sketches like those of Radha Krishna, hunters riding elephants. They are about 100 years old. Centuries old, this process of etching designs is called Kandarna. For purposes of etching, small-sized instruments of varying thicknesses and tips are used. They are specially made locally. Once the design is ready, the next stage of production is called Chirna. Under this process, details are scooped out in the design to make it more ornamental. Then follows the process of cutting up the mesh and picking out the extra gold pieces from around the design. After picking out the extra gold pieces, the design embedded in the ral is once again exposed to the mild flame of a burner to separate it from the gripping surface of the ral. The design has then to go through the process of special fusion with a glass of identical size before it takes its finished form. Nowadays, this glass is available indigenously, whereas still some decades ago, it had to be imported from Belgium. This process of fusion has been the exclusive legacy of the preeminent Rajasthani family of Pratap Garh since the last more than 2 centuries. That was kept secret from even the daughters and sons-in-law of the family until recent years. This legacy, although confined to limited members of craftsmen, is the very basis of Theva craft and also its soul. Now arises the question of making Theva a marketable item. For that, silver covers are prepared and given a gold coating. In the past, this work was done manually, but with changing times, now Vishnu Soni, also from Pratap Garh, has made this job quite easy by setting up a plant with modern equipments for this purpose. The gold-coated covers are ornamented by inlaying them with American diamonds, kundan, purified gold, or by enameling them as per the requirement. Outside the Raj Soni family, known the world over for their THEVA craft, the first person to join this field, Vishnu Soni, must have struggled to some extent during his initial days in this craft to learn it.
किसी से मैंने एक बार पूछा कि ये क्या चीज़ है, तो उन्होंने कहा कि ये बड़ा ऊंचा काम है। तो मैंने पापा से पूछा था कि ये ऊंचा काम, वो बता रहे थे क्या है। तब उन्होंने बताया था कि ये थेवा कला है और ये कांच पे होती है। तो जब फिर मैंने करीब 4-5 साल बाद, तब तो मैं 8 साल का था, तब करीब 12 साल की उम्र में मैंने इसको सीखना शुरू किया पढ़ाई के साथ साथ। तो इसमें मेरे को सीखने में बहुत दिक्कत आई कि उसमें कौन सी चीज़ यूज़ होती है, क्या काम में आता है, कुछ भी पता नहीं था। लेकिन जब कहते ना वो करते करते अभ्यास सब सीख जाते हैं, तो फिर मैं लगातार 7-8 साल तक इस पर मेहनत करी, तब जाके मेरे को इसको मैंने सीखा।
Actually, THEVA craft is entirely a manually handled handicraft. To produce every single piece of craft, the work involved at each stage of its production has to be done manually. Therefore, only limited production is possible. In the present times of instant or ready-made availability, the first prerequisite of the handicraft industry, namely the restraint and control over one's impulses, is losing its importance. The restraint and patience that is required to learn any such art or craft is probably asking for a little too much in this jet-set age. And not necessarily each young member of this large and extended Raj Soni family that has been associated with this craft is expected to see his future in this craft. Under the circumstances, the initiative on the part of the daughters and daughters-in-law to learn this form of craft is a welcome development.
मायके में मैंने सुना और फिर मेरी शादी यहीं हो गई, और फिर उसके बाद से पापा जी ने बताया कि ऐसे काम करो, फिर उन्होंने सपोर्ट किया, तो फिर हमने भी किया ये काम। तो हमको लगा कि चलो अपने करने से वह आगे सबको मतलब महिलाओं को बताया, जैसे कि सब कलर्स में बनते हैं, सब डिज़ाइन मैचिंग भी पहनो आप, तो सब साड़ी की मैच का बन सकता है। तो धीरे धीरे 8-10 साल हो गए ये काम करते करते।
Reuse by melting of the clippings of extra gold picked from around the designs is but a natural process that also enables making the best use as possible of this precious metal. But the process of working on a THEVA piece is bound to produce some very fine particles of gold and silver, scraping up of which is almost impossible, since such particles get inseparably mixed up with the dust that routinely gets deposited around. But gold, after all, is gold. Another centuries-old tradition still lives on in a few of the Raj Soni families. Like the technique of this craft that has been passed on from generation to generation for centuries, there are traditional claimants to the dust collected during the daily cleaning up of the workshops of the craftsmen. And this dust is stashed apart from the dust and waste swept off from the other parts of the house, like an object of trust belonging to someone else. The claimants to this trust come to retrieve it once or twice a year, usually around Deepavali, the festival of lights, of course by making some payment. The forefathers of Rashid Niazar have been buying the dust so collected all the year round from the members of earlier generations of the Raj Soni family since centuries. He is keeping up this tradition even today. This practice is called Niyazdari. The gold and silver particles mixed with the dust are no less precious, and their segregation from the dust involves a tedious process like that of separating radium from the ashes. THEVA is a golden chapter of the cultural legacy of not only Pratap Garh or Rajasthan, but also the whole of India. The last few decades have definitely seen the addition of some new dimensions to THEVA craft, but perhaps we have still not been able to duly appreciate its inherent beauty. Whereas the people of the countries in various parts of the world, wherever THEVA pieces have made their way to, are overwhelmed by it.
In fact, I had taken pieces when I was studying in America. I had taken pieces with me, which I gave as gifts to my friends over there. But before I gave them as gifts, I showed it to the De Young Museum in San Francisco. And the curator had never seen any such beautiful work. And this is just an anecdote and story that I'm mentioning, that he felt this work was so rich and so beautiful. The closest thing he had seen to something like this was silver inlay in tortoise shell from Korea. But he said never seen anything in gold like this. And he said the important thing is the way this should be marketed. He actually compared it with the diamond that Richard Burton gave Elizabeth Taylor, which cost God knows how many $1 million.
The limited base of producing this craft that is around a few hundred years old raises quite a few questions. Has its confinement to the patronage of a single family in any way really obstructed its multi-dimensional development? Shall a handicraft like THEVA, with its limited sphere of production, be able to face the future challenges posed by the changing environment and fluctuating market prices?
मुश्किल पक्ष ये है कि इसकी जो प्रोसेस होती है वो सबसे बड़ी लेंथी है। इस थेवा को बनने में कुल लगभग 36 प्रोसेस लगती है। 36 प्रोसेस कंप्लीट होने के बाद ईच एंड एवरी प्रोसेस अगर 100% कंप्लीट हुई तो एक थेवा का जो पीस है वो रेडी होता है। तो ये जो प्रोसेस है इतनी लेंथी है कि इसको करने में आदमी का धैर्य और संतुलन चाहिए। अगर वो बिल्कुल मानसिक संतुलित है या वो अगर परफेक्ट है तो ही वो एक परफेक्ट थेवा बना सकता है, अदरवाइज उससे कहीं ना कहीं कुछ मिस्टेक हो जाती है।
In the present race of globalization, ever new changes are taking place at various levels in the priorities of ways of life, dress, and day-to-day activities. Under the circumstances, only the centuries-old traditions and cultural legacy of any country can be the true symbols of its original and everlasting identity.
मुझे इस काम को सीखने के लिए सबसे बड़ा प्रोत्साहन तो जब मेरे राम प्रसाद जी जो गुरु थे उनको नेशनल अवार्ड मिला तो उस समय बड़ी भारी महिमा थी। आज से 1965 के अंदर कि वो हो नेशनल अवार्ड। तो उस समय मैं 11वीं में पढ़ता था और हालांकि काम भी सीखता था, लेकिन उस समय सबसे ज़्यादा प्रोत्साहित हुआ मैं। तो उसी काम में आने के बाद मतलब पढ़ता भी रहा मैं बीए के अंदर और ये काम भी करता रहा। तो उस समय के जो हमारे प्रिंसिपल थे कॉलेज के, उन्होंने बहुत बड़ा सम्मानित भी किया था मुझे कॉलेज के अंदर, और उन्होंने बहुत बड़ा सर्टिफिकेट दिया था और लर्न वाइल यू अर्न नाम से एक बहुत अच्छा मेरे लिए स्लोगन दिया था उन्होंने कि प्रताप कॉलेज के अंदर एक ऐसी प्रतिभा है।
The recollection of a special achievement of his college life did make Jagdish Raj Soni winner of the National Award and the only THEVA craftsman to have been honored with the title of Shilp Guru in THEVA handicraft emotional for a moment. But in spite of all these honors conferred on him as a reward for dedicating his entire life to the promotion of this form of craft, if he feels a sense of uncertainty, then there must be some genuine reason behind that.
मुझे ये लगता है कि जो मेहनत हमने की है वो मेहनत आज की नई जनरेशन नहीं कर रही है, और उनको हालांकि हम उनको उसके लिए प्रेरित बहुत ज़्यादा करते हैं और वो कर रहे हैं, लेकिन प्रेरणा बहुत ज़्यादा देनी पड़ रही है उनको।
THEVA, or for that matter, any such handicraft, imparts a distinct identity to India. It is our national responsibility, our bounden duty, to see that the invaluable legacy, like that of THEVA craft, gets the pride of place it deserves in the abundantly rich world of Indian handicrafts. Amen.